So, did anyone by chance look up or do any research on the first commandment? Anyone do that by chance?
I think we missed that part of it. We were just supposed to read it.
No, I didn't. I didn't tell anyone to. I just thought maybe it would be something someone would look into. Um, so, Richard, I don't think you were here last week. One of the things that I had pointed out to me recently that I brought up last week was if you go to Exodus 20 in the Ten Commandments in the CJB, you'll notice on the kind of on the inside next to each of the commandments, you'll notice the Hebrew number symbol for the number. And the Hebrew symbol for the number 1 is not next to "you shall have no other gods before me," which is what I've always been taught and told and believed was the first commandment. But actually the Hebrew number 1 is by the quote, "I am Adonai your God who brought you out." And I think it's probably perhaps because our obedience to the commandments of God, which obviously flow from this quote, our obedience to God's commandments, I would argue, rest upon the truth or really are a direct outflow of exactly what God just said, which is, "I am Adonai your God who delivered you out of sin." Right? That's essentially what he said. "I am Adonai your God who delivered you out of sin." So because I am Adonai your God who has delivered you out of sin, bam, the rest of his commandments. "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not change me. You shall not take my name lightly. You shall keep holy the Sabbath. Honor your mother and father," so on and so forth. That his commandments and our obedience to them are an outflow of our understanding of exactly who he says he is. And who he says he is specifically is Adonai, our God, who has delivered us from our sin. Everyone tracking with me? So this falls in line with today's kind of about a convergence of revelations that I feel like the Lord's been showing us for the whole Passover season. One of the things that this Passover season was highlighted to me and just jumped off the pages of the Exodus story so much more so than years past was the repeated phrase and this repeated idea that kind of my argument was could not have possibly been lost on the Hebrews who were in Egypt, who in their slavery cried out to God, and God responded and intervened in these miraculous ways that they experienced and witnessed and were being affected by, and it kind of caused me to ask the question, I wonder what they think was happening. I wonder what they thought God was getting ready to do. And if you read the words of Aaron and Moses that were given from Adonai to the Hebrews over and over and over and over and over again in the Exodus story is, "I'm getting ready to deliver you. I'm pulling you out of Egypt. I'm removing you from your slavery. And I am doing that." Why? Because I am calling you unto myself. I have to deliver you from Egypt because I'm calling you to myself. That was the line over and over and over that he said. If there was anything that the Hebrews had to be clear about, if there's anything that they had to have zero question regarding, it was that God was going to deliver them from Egypt so that they could draw near to him. And those two things are what we have to receive from this type and shadow, that for us to draw near to Adonai requires us to be delivered from our sin. That makes sense? I'll say that again. For us to draw near to Adonai, which is the point, which is the purpose, which is the plan for God to call his people to himself, for us to draw near to Adonai, we have to be delivered from our sin. We have to be taken out of Egypt. So this would fall in perfect alignment with, as the type and shadow with the gospel. And what Paul called the ministry of reconciliation. So let's read this real quick. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 11 through 21, a very familiar passage, I know. I just want you to hear. This is the point that I believe that the Father is driving home. That to belong to Adonai requires us to be delivered. But the deliverance is not specifically the point. The deliverance is required to draw near to him. Deliverance is required to draw near to Adonai.
Is it 1 Corinthians? Because there's no 2 Corinthians 16.
What?
15. Is it 1 Corinthians?
Oh, I'm sorry, 5.
No. Oh, 5. Oh, okay. I'm like,
No, my bad.
we're a little confused.
You want to read that for us, babe?
Sure.
2 Corinthians 5. Think about the type and shadow. The type and shadow teaches that Adonai was calling a people group to himself. The only thing that he first spoke to that group was, I'm going to deliver you. I'm going to deliver you so that you can hold a feast for me in the desert. I'm going to deliver you so that you can worship me in the wilderness. I'm going to deliver you so that you can serve me where I take you. So drawing near to the Father requires deliverance, and all of this is a type and shadow for the gospel, a type and shadow for what Paul calls the ministry of reconciliation. So this is his short explanation of it.
So 2 Corinthians chapter 5, starting in verse 11. So it is with the fear of the Lord before us that we try to pursue people. Moreover, God knows us as we really are, and I hope that that in your consciences you too know us as we really are. We are not recommending ourselves to you again, but giving you a reason to be proud of us, so that you will be able to answer those who boast about a person's appearance rather than his inner qualities. If we are insane, it is for God's sake, and if we are sane, it is for your sake. For the Messiah's love has hold of us, because we are convinced that one man died on behalf of all mankind.
He's getting ready to share the gospel.
Which implies that all mankind was already dead, and that he died on behalf of all in order that those who live should not live any longer for themselves, but for the one who on their behalf died and was raised. So from now on, we do not look at anyone from a worldly viewpoint. Even if we once regarded the Messiah from a worldly viewpoint, we do so no longer. Therefore, if anyone is united with the Messiah, he is a new creation. The old has passed. Look, what has come is fresh and new, and it is all from God, whom through the Messiah was reconciled us to himself and has given us the work of that reconciliation, which is that God in the Messiah was reconciling mankind to himself, not counting their sins against them, and entrusting to us the message of reconciliation. Therefore, we are ambassadors of the Messiah. In effect, God is making his appeal through us. What we do is appeal on behalf of the Messiah. Be reconciled to God. God made this sinless man be a sin offering on our behalf, so that in union with him we might fully share in God's righteousness.
Be reconciled to God. That is the heart and soul and purpose of the gospel, to be reconciled to God, to be brought near to the Father again. And that what the type and shadow teaches, and what Adonai literally calls himself, is that in order to be brought near to the Father, we must be delivered out of Egypt. We must be delivered out of sin. It's only marked by being baptized into Messiah for the remission of sins. In baptism, the dominion of the sin nature dies. We are raised with Messiah and raised with a new nature possibility, and a spirit is put inside of us, and that spirit immediately moves us to do what? Same thing the Spirit immediately moved the Hebrews to do: get out of Egypt. Deliverance is the very beginning. It's Passover, then deliverance, every time, all the time.